Hi, Nick Ritter here with another tutorial about Cavalry. This one is a recreation of an old graphic I did for Cove. They're an alarm system company and it's a series 1, 2, 3 of different value propositions.
In 3 ways: text, live assist through your security panel, and a phone call.
In After Effects, I had to do 3 different graphics because they had a different number, they had different text. But in Cavalry, I know you can link it up so you only have to animate it once and then you can have it spit out the other 3. So this should take less time than the original ones, but we'll see. Okay, let's jump into it. We're in Cavalry, empty composition, and holding down Alt, I'm going to click the circle and the text. Let's see, rearrange some of these windows. I already have a bit of a color palette here. This text shape, for the time being, we're just going to call it number 1. I'll set this to center and middle. Let's keep the size of the ellipse shape. The text shape, we'll make this white color, and then we'll make the ellipse shape purple. On the text, we'll make that black, increase the font size, and adjust to taste. About there. Call this number, and we'll call this circle. Make the text a child of the shape. This is the first element. I'll bring it over here to the left. Mainly bring it over to the left because I'm not sure how much space the text will take up. And so I want to leave it open to taking up the entire width of the composition if needed. I can leave open for myself. Okay, so there's the circle, holding down Alt, clicking on the text. We'll create a new text layer and we'll call this one step 1. Make it bold, and we'll make it the same color as the other text. So text shape 7, fill color. It does seem to disappear here, so we'll click on our composition settings and change the background color to black. So we'll change all those to 0 by holding down Alt, and then we'll move our alpha all the way up. Click and drag this over. Now this text shape, I want the alignment to still be left and the vertical alignment to be baseline. We'll line up our text right here. We have a font size of 169 for our number, and I think I want to do the same thing with our text. So let's actually just link these up together and then set a guide. So lining up the guide right at the bottom of this one, and then we can do the same thing just with the text here. So I'm nudging it up with the arrow keys, and that looks pretty lined up. Give it a little bit more space between the number and the step. Okay, there, looks good. So now we have our layout. The next thing is to animate. The way I animated this before was I set my position, move it over to 20, let's say, and then animate this over here-ish. We'll take care of the masking in a little bit. Let's see, go into the graph editor, change the interpolation of this last keyframe, make it really extreme. So when we play, it animates out like so. The only problem is when we bake in our keyframes in this way is that now if our step 1 changes size, so we'll just like add some filler text here, it doesn't animate from the left far enough. So we need to set this up dynamically to change with however wide the text layer is. So I'm going to delete these keyframes back in the time editor. So for this trick, I will use the align deformer. Here's align. Set this up to start all the way over here at 1, and then it looks like our line messed up our alignment here. Oh, well, that fixed it. So the align doesn't seem to maintain the text's vertical alignment, ironically. Might be a bug. So just move this slider to wherever it needs to be, and then we'll start this at 1. And what we'll do is we'll animate it from 0 to 1. And this will animate the distance based on how wide our text layer is. So let's start it at 1 here, create a keyframe, go back to the beginning, slide this to 0, or slide this to -1. And then now we have an animation beginning to end. Let's even go in the graph editor, create some interpolation. Hold down shift and make that really extreme. And there it is. A couple of things. Before we move on, I'm going to set up our mask, our matte layer here. Create a rectangle, and we'll start from about the center of the circle here and just slide it all the way over about like this. And we'll call this matte. And we'll click and drag the blue circle to connect it to our text shape 7 under masks, connect to new index 0. So now we only see our text when it goes inside of our matte shape. So there's our shape. You can see the text right in there. So the problem is that we're still seeing the text even though we have our line animated. And let's rename this to step text. Hold down Alt, double click, and double click on the align. We need a little bit of help, so we'll come into our step text and set our position keyframe out like that. So now when we play it, it is stopping a little harshly, and that's because we don't have any interpolation on our position X. So we'll go back in the graph editor and set that up. We'll set it up to be about the same as the other. And there we go. Nice and smooth. Okay. The other thing is I don't want to see the text on top of our circle. I want it to come from behind. So that's just reordering the layers. Do that now. Problem solved. We now have our rig all set up. So now it's time to create our arrays. Go to our text array, create 2 of them. This one I'll call our num array, and this one we'll call our step array. So this is where we'll put our steps. This is where we'll put our numbers. Alt double click on number, double click on step array, and we'll create 3 of these. Make sure there's 3 in each. So in the numbers, 1, 2, 3. And here I will sneakily put subscribe. And the next one I'll put like, and the next one I'll put comment. Okay, there's our arrays. So I'll take the step array, open up this layer here. I will take the step array, connect that to our step text, click on text, and then num array, I will connect that to number here. Click on text, and our line looks like broke again. So let's come back into a line and set that back to normal. Oh, it looks like that actually fixed it. Interesting. A little bug there. So we'll just move this Y align back to 1. Okay, so our text already updated to subscribe, which is the first one. Go back to the beginning, play, it animates. And this is longer text than our step 1. And to test this out, I will uncheck auto index here and here and change this to 2, 3, comment. Awesome. So the number here, and you typically have to do this with numbers, the spacing around the outside will change, or it'll look like it's changed as the number goes from like 1 to 2 to 3. And maybe I'll try to line up this number a little bit more. The number spacing will change as it changes, but I'll try to find like a good middle ground between the 3. Go back to 1. Yeah, it still looks okay. Okay, one last bit of animation missing before we go. So I want to animate the number circle to pop in, and then the text slides out. Click and drag to select these. Use the shift and plus button to move it over by 5 frames. We'll move it over by about 10. That should be enough. And we'll take this number circle, connect these 2 values. So we'll animate from 0, create a keyframe, and we'll move over to frame 10 and animate this up to 1. And we'll select both of these. So right now, it just animates in. Very boring. And I made it so slow so that I could add some magic easing. And we'll do small spring out. I don't want it too springy. In fact, I think we could even make this a little longer, a little shorter. So it's a little bit of back and forth. This one looks okay. Before the number comes in, you do see the text here, so we can just go back to our first keyframe. You can see a little bit of the text here, so we can move the position over a little bit. Looks like that takes us up to -806. I'll copy that value, delete the current keyframe I'm on, go to our actual first keyframe, and paste that value in. So now we don't see the text until after it animates in. Nice. Now when I'm animating graphics at Harmon Brothers, I like to leave a lot of extra space at the end because usually the graphic will animate and then we need to give time to read it. We'll open up our composition settings and change our end frame to 100. and it'll automatically adjust the playback end to be that number as a maximum. We are at 25 frames per second. I'll leave it for now, but just be aware that it does default. Just be aware that Cavalry does default to 25 frames per second. With our animation done, our thing all rigged up, let's open up our render manager. And let's see. So we want the number array and the step array opened up. This dynamic index, that's what we want to connect over to our array index on both of these. So you'll notice when I change this to 1, these update. We'll start at 0. Just make sure all of your settings are right. We'll call this steps. Go into format, make these all animated GIFs or GIFs, depending on who you are and what you believe in. Turn on the dynamic render. Number of renders, we have 3 of them. Now we're ready to render it out. Just click render queue, and you'll see these render out one at a time, starting with our first step, subscribe, which reminds me, if you like videos like this, subscribe to my channel. I'm making more every week. And if you have any questions or suggestions, please drop a comment below and give me a like if you like this video. I do go look back at all of my other videos just to see how they're doing and see like what types of things that you guys like watching. And that directly informs the future content that I make. I answer all the comments. You know what? Let's speed this up and just skip to the end. This has taken a while. And we're back. 100%. And then wherever you save your renders out to, go ahead and open that up in your file browser. I have mine right here. When you do dynamic renders, it creates subfolders for each number of that dynamic index. Started at 0, went to 1, went to 2. So as we open up each one of these, we have steps, 0, GIF or GIF. And there's the animation. Let's look at the second one. Double click on that. Very nice. And then let's go to the third one. Double click here. And there it is. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.